course, during this month of Ramadan, for me personally, because I think this is the first proper year I'm going out to possibly celebrate Raya, celebrate all like Chinese New Year previously. It's the first year as a newlywed, I have to give ang pao.
Oh yes, thank
It hurts.
God, I'm here, Zoe.
It hurts. Exactly. And my husband's like, what, half Singaporean? So if we do have to go to Singapore, I already have to start thinking about saving money. And not only saving money for, you know, ang pao, of course, for other bigger expenditures like houses, my rent, my car, my bills, basically all this adulting stuff. So I'm actually wondering, right, with the endemic and how everyone's slowly going back to work now, everyone's slowly, you know, things are picking up. Is it still possible for us to save money? And how efficiently can we save money, especially in the month of Ramadan, where bazaars are such a tempting place to be?
Yeah, and did you know that during Ramadan, actually, expenses can increase from 50 to 100%, and this is actually a true fact. So people would think that they'll be able to save during Ramadan because they thought to themselves, okay, they only probably have 2 meals a day. Well, that's entirely wrong, you know, because you have the pressure of actually going out with your friends to buka puasa. So this is where it bursts your budget at the end of the day, and it is a true fact.
Exactly. So on the show today, we're going to talk about how can you consciously save your money. You know, I know it's so much fun going to the bazaar, spending 50 ringgit. You don't really think about it, but if you constantly do this every week, it's going to add up to what, 200 ringgit easily. Exactly, bro. You know, 200 ringgit is one grocery shop trip. So we're going to discuss on how to officially save money with the chief economist of TA Securities, Miss SHAZMA. Azma pula. SHAZMA.
Yeah.
I was like, SHAZMA. Got it. But yes, you know, it's crazy to think about how much you actually spend going to the bazaar. I'm actually curious, before we get into the topic, what's the biggest amount you've actually unconsciously spent at the bazaar?
Well, it depends on people, because some people, it depends on what they want to eat. So, and some people, if you ask me, if you want, try to save according to number of people in your house. For example, if you have, let's say we allocate about like 20 ringgit per person in your house. So if you have 5 person, try to spend and limit your spending up to 100 ringgit. Try. Just give it a try.
Try. That's the word.
That is the toughest word ever in this generation. Try. But when it comes to you, what was the most amount of money spent at the bazaar? If you can remember roughly.
I try to limit my spending at 50 ringgit, but I can't. Me, myself, I can't. So actually it depends how many people in the house. If you have more people in your house, why don't you cook?
Right.
Try to cook with your family. Have fun together.
I love it. Yeah, it's another option for us to... I guess in the long run, cooking does save money. But for somebody like me who always burns food, it's not the greatest idea. I like boil water is great, fine.
For me, try to cook something simple. I mean, okay, for example, don't try to cook like nasi dagang. If you know that is not your forte, right? So try to cook like something like nasi with ayam masak kicap. Why not? As long as it's delicious.
I love it. Realistic one of this one. But I have to ask you though, I mean, we have like 2 years of not being able to celebrate Raya. I mean, last year was a brief one before we hit MCO 2.0. We had like a week or two of going out to the bazaars, but it was just a limited amount of stalls that were open. Are we supposed to talk about saving this year? I mean, this time around, since 2 years ago.
Okay. Talking about saving, doesn't matter whether we are in pandemic area or endemic era or whatnot. You need to have savings in your life because it is vital. Because it provides you security, it provides you financial freedom. It actually avoids you from falling into that trap.
Right.
Am I right? So even because I'm an economist, so I love to share statistics with people.
Yes, please do. I love getting statistics.
Okay.
It scares me a little bit, you know. I'm like, wow, numbers so high.
During the peak of pandemic era, the number of people who were unemployed on average per month is about more than 750,000 people.
Yes.
Wow.
That's a lot. That is if you compare that to the pre-pandemic level, it was only like less than 500,000 people. Okay, and jobless rate has spiked up. Before pre-pandemic, it was like 3.0 to 3.1%. It has gone up to above 5%, 5.4, 5.5%.
Wow.
Yeah. So what so those who've been laid off or those who cannot work because of the MCO, because of the shutdown of economy, so they are trying their best to use whatever savings they have or use whatever assets they have to make ends meet. Am I right? So back to the rule of thumb of savings, you need to have at least 6 months of savings to cover your monthly expenses for the 6 months ahead. For example, if your monthly expenses is about 1,000 ringgit, you need to have at least 6,000 ringgit in your bank account. Okay. I know it's easy said than done.
Yeah.
Some people, they say, I cannot even save 1,000 ringgit per month. How can I save? I only left with what? 50 ringgit balance at the end of the month. I know that. But the key word is try. Aim for low first. Why don't we aim for at least to cover your monthly expenses for 1 month? If not half month. Start from beginning.
Right.
So I know we are actually in the transition into the endemic era.
Correct.
We are not into full endemic yet.
Yeah.
We are still in transition period. So people get jobs now. But bear in mind, whatever income they have is actually less than before. They used to have get salary increment. So maybe this year or last year they don't.
Right.
Maybe they used to get bonus or any extra income, but this year they don't. So I know everyone is actually depending on EPF savings.
Yeah, I mean,
that's true.
at one point, EPF was just like, yo, stop.
Yeah.
Like, in layman's terms, they were just saying, like, stop taking out your own money.
because
Think about your
that
future.
EPF is actually savings for your future.
Yeah.
It's for long-term period. What I'm talking now, the one I said, like 6 months of saving, the rule of thumb, is actually for the short term. Short term and also medium term. So if you have 6 months of savings, so that is actually the minimal level, the minimum requirement.
Exactly.
So as I said, try. Maybe you can try, like, why don't you start saving, as I mentioned, maybe we were talking about like spending at bazaar, right? Rather than spending like 200 ringgit at bazaar Ramadan, why don't you limit? If you have a number of people in your house, why don't you start cooking? I mean, try go small, like cook like something that you know, like ayam masak kicap. I know there's a lot of nasi bujang. I know a lot of like the Insta famous people. They are actually like providing platforms of how to cook, like very simple thing, but delicious. As long as it's delicious, it's okay.
Yes.
Zoe, so you know what to do after this, huh? Ayam masak kicap. Here we go with Zoe.
I love my grandma's ayam masak kicap, by the way. I've learned to kind of almost perfect it, but you can never perfect your grandmother's cooking. Actually, a very interesting point. Now, I totally agree with you in terms of having the 6 months savings because this was very evident. Personally, for me, this was very evident in the first pandemic because it was at least we had 6 months of straight lockdown. Straight lockdown. And even for us, we were rolling previous episodes. And like for the first month, we weren't working. Like we had pre-taped episodes. And then I felt the impact of it. And I was just like, thank God I had the 6 months planning way ahead. And that took me, I think, probably like when I was 25, then I decided, I should open up an ESB account and put all my money there just in case for the future. And sure enough, the pandemic happened, speaking of things that, we are planning for, of course, Raya is coming really soon. And as Malaysians, we get very, very crazy. As much as we tell ourselves to save, the word sale is very evident during festive periods, which tricks us into thinking that we're saving by spending more, essentially, right? So in terms of preparing for Raya, for any of our family members who felt like, this year is a year of celebration, I need to kind of
overexcited.
I want to get good energy. I want to start preparing for open houses, for cooking or whatever. Do you have any tips on how to properly plan for Raya celebration?
Okay, first of all, you need to plan. You need to plan ahead. For example, you want to have like open house. You try to know your limit. You don't intend to invite the whole kampung coming to your open house, right? So why don't you start with like inviting family members first, or extend to your close family? Okay, then only maybe you can do rather than one shot. Some people they are actually doing a big raya celebration. They are having like 17 kemah sampai 20 kemah kat depan rumah. Am I right?
Dia memang ajak satu kampung.
Memang ajak satu kampung. So like I say, try to limit. I mean, be realistic.
Right.
That's number one. Number two, please track your expenses. Okay, during the pandemic, even until now, we have seen different spending behavior because now people go for online transaction. People go for online spending. They go for Shopee, Lazada, a lot of things. And in fact, if you look at the e-commerce revenue, the latest one showed that it has grown up by more than 17%. Quite substantial,
Wow.
17%. Because of people say like, okay, I don't go out, but I can still shop.
Yeah, that's true.
And
It's the convenience of it, right?
yes, very convenient. But the trick is, if you don't control yourself, you tend to overclick and you tend to overspend because you don't track. You don't track your expenses. You keep on shop. You keep on shopping until you don't track what have you spent before. So that is very dangerous.
Yeah.
Very basic example. We are talking about baju raya. First, you click one baju raya, one pasang baju raya. Then you saw another ad. Okay, this baju raya is also beautiful. Okay, why don't we buy another one? So end up you have like 10 pasang baju raya.
Covered for the next 10 years.
Yes.
Come for next 10 days, bro. Remember, Raya is a whole
Or you
month.
can actually wear like satu pagi, satu tengah hari, satu malam, like 3 days.
Yeah.
Like you can cover up to 3 days. So why do we need like 10 pasang baju raya then?
Yeah.
So like I said, track your spending. And the second one, which is very, very important, you need to differentiate between what you want and what you need.
So
That's the difference.
part of want and need.
Sometimes you get
Right.
confused. I know. I also do that. I mean, I also get confused. Like I said, coming back to the baju raya. Okay, what you need is only 1 or 2 baju raya. Am I right? But what you want is having like 10 pasangan baju raya,
Yeah.
probably by the designers.
Okay.
Right.
And
So
different colors as well.
different colors.
Yep.
Maybe like today is green, tomorrow is yellow. So like I said, try to differentiate between your need and you want, which is very, very basic.
That's the fantastic advice. Want and need should be differentiated. You know, you are not in the middle. It's just want and need. So you pick your choice. Obviously, you have to go to the
Yeah.
need.
Yes.
And have to ask you, instead of have the word proper planning when it comes to your finances and limitations.
Yep.
How can we do better? Do we write things down? Or do we speak to our family when it comes to
Yeah.
planning properly?
Yeah. What's your methodology in terms of like planning?
Okay, you can actually list down.
Okay.
List down what are your expected expenses. For example, your upcoming raya, your upcoming open houses, your upcoming like kuih raya, all those things. So you need to have a budget. Try to spend within the budget. All right. Then the most important thing, never ever take credit to cover your expenses.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, take credit
Yes.
as in.
As in
You don't
like,
take on loan, like personal loan.
personal
Right.
loan,
Oh my gosh.
or use
Borrow
your
money
credit
from
card.
friends,
Borrow
yeah.
money from friend, or use your credit card. Maximize your credit card. That one is very, very bad attitude. So
Yeah.
this is like, so during puasa, not only during puasa, you should try be able to control yourself when it comes to spending. So that's when we conclude that we need to have a proper planning.
Yeah.
You need to have your savings. So in order for you, okay, you know that like Ramadan is like somewhere in March. Why don't you start spending like 6 months before?
I tried to do that for my celebration and I failed.
Try again. Maybe you don't need to meet the full goal of your
Yeah.
target. Maybe try to achieve 50% of it. So for example, you try to have like allocation. You try to allocate like 1,000 ringgit, and if you think that one is impossible, try to go half of it. Try to go for 500 ringgit.
Yeah.
The key word is try.
Yeah.
Keep on trying.
And something which is
Interesting.
more realistic. So,
Yeah.
now that we know that the word here is try, you know, it's all about savings and doing your best to save. But realistically, most of us, including me, we burst our budget. So once we sway away from it, how do we get ourselves back together?
Okay, first of all, you need to be realistic and you need to realize that you have done something wrong. Okay, number 2, you need to know whether you have enough money yourself to cover back whatever extra expenses that you have done. Let's say you don't have any. Okay, then you go to the next step. Try to find extra income to cover whatever extra expenses that you have done before. When we talk about extra income, I know like the government has provide a lot of platforms for you to do side income. Because when we say that, I don't have any, I don't know how to sell, but you can cook. So why don't you market your product? So when we market your product, try to go beyond out of the box. Try to think out of the box. For example, let's say if you used to sell food by the roadside before, so because of the pandemic, like you were asked to work from home, so why don't you market your product via Instagram or via internet? You need to get notified.
Yep.
Or you can, if you don't know how to cook, try to do dropship. Try to do something that you like. The keyword here, something that you like, so that you're actually having fun, and at the same time you are actually churning out money for yourself.
Yeah. I think some people even, some of them invest in crypto. Some of them, become insurance agents. Some of them sell NFTs now or make NFTs, There are many ways for you actually to make side incomes. And as long as you're not particular about, see what I find that doesn't matter, it's cross-generation. I don't care. I know a lot of people complain about Gen Z, millennials, and how we're very picky in terms of jobs.
Making money is making money.
Making money is making money. Personally, I have a stance where I don't care, even if I have to become a cleaner, as long as it makes me money and I'm able to live my life comfortably, peacefully, then, you shouldn't be too particular about getting the side income. I'm actually curious about whether or not this is so what I usually do with my money is that, let's say for example, I wanted to buy this phone. And I gave myself about, let's say after minusing off my expenditures, possible jobs, I set a target of 6 months. To achieve and get this phone. If, let's say, by the end of the 6 months, I don't have enough income to buy the phone, I'm just telling myself, you know what, tak apa, as long as I have this savings and, I could possibly use it for something else, right? What do you think about people who have that type of mindset, who they just set a goal and they have that goal and, if they don't achieve it, they just use the money to buy something else?
Well, it depends on people's behavior. It depends on people. Some people, their goal is to have saving by this amount. Okay, I know some of my friends, their aim is, by the age of 30, I must have at least 500,000 ringgit in their EPF savings account. And they aim to have like certain amount of money in their bank account. Okay, some people, I don't want to have any goals in my life as long as I'm happy. As long as they're happy.
Right.
So it actually depends on people themselves.
Okay.
So I cannot force everyone to do savings, but when it comes to hard times, like what we had experienced during the pandemic era, right?
Yeah.
Then people start to realize, I should have like savings.
Yeah.
So there's always a start.
Yeah.
Okay, don't go big, go small. I know there's a lot of banks. If you notice that in your, for example, CMB Maybank account, they do have like something like goal target.
Yes, they do.
Yes.
Yeah.
So why don't you try with that first?
Right.
Okay, and certain platform like Touch and Go, they do have like small investment on a daily basis. You can actually track that. So it's fun. At the same time, it's fun. But don't go big. You don't expect to have like whatever, like 10,000 ringgit return within a day. We don't do that.
Yeah.
So go small, then eventually it will go bigger.
All right.
Thank
Awesome.
you so much for
I
sharing
think they
with
ended
us,
on such a perfect note.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Try
Thank
not
you
to,
so much.
try not to just push it. Like, just don't do it. It's
Have
simple.
fun. The keyword is have fun. Be realistic. Yep.
Yeah. Again, I mean, at the end of the day, I love money and I love seeing, I mean, I don't want to sound like too like, green monster and all that, but it's just, I understand the uncomfortability of not having money.
Yeah.
So ergo, I try to save as much as I can. So again, thank you so much for sharing all of your tips.
Yeah.
Just to summarize all the tips that we've gotten here today, for you guys to save, you have to have the rule of thumb, save up to 6 months. That's your short-term goal, okay?
Yeah.
So let's say if the pandemic happens again, we go into another lockdown, at least you're good for another 6 months.
Don't say
exactly.
that. Yeah, but
and another tip is that constantly try. Figure out a methodology that works for you, because everyone's very, very different. Like how Brandon saves money is very much different from how I save money. So again, thank you so much for coming on to share all of the tips.